You're listening to the Telltale Channel. Don't forget to check me out on all social media: Patreon, Twitter, Teespring, and Etsy. All links can be found in the description or on my website, telltaleatheist.com. In mixed news for atheists, Democrats' religiosity has withered in the last 12 years. This is by Terry Firma on the Friendly Atheist website. Fodder for the right-wing outrage machine. This is a quote. The percentage of Democrat and Democrat-leaning voters who identify as Christian has sharply declined since 2008, according to a new report by the Pew Research Center. The report found that while 73% of Democrat voters were Christian in 2008, by 2019 the percentage had dropped to 52%. The large decline came for the subset of white Christians, who went from 45% of Democrat voters to 26%. Non-white Christians had a smaller decline of 28 to 25 during the same time period. So if you're watching the actual clip on YouTube or something, you'll be able to see this chart, basically detailing exactly what's happening here. Let's continue reading. Voters on the right have been shedding their Christianity too, but not nearly as dramatically. Here's a quote. Republican and Republican-leaning voters also saw a drop in self-identified Christians during that time period, going from 87% in 2008 to 79% in 2019. With Republicans, the white Christian subset fell from 77% in 2008 to 66%, though the non-white Christian percentage increased during the same time period, from 10% to 14%. 78% of white evangelicals identified as Republican or Republican-leaning, versus 17% who identified as Democrat or Democrat-leaning. Last July, Pew released a report that found only 38% of Democrats viewed the impact of churches on the culture as positive, a 19-point drop from 2010. By contrast, the 2019 report found that 68% of Republicans viewed the impact of churches on the culture as positive, a 6% drop from 2010. So it is dropping, basically. What they're saying here is that the viewpoint that churches are a positive impact on society is less widely accepted than it was 10 years ago, which is good news. This is Terry Firma speaking. The news of religious feelings slowly collapsing among left-leaning Americans fills my non-believer heart with gladness, but it's worrying too, because the trend indicates greater ideological separation between left and right, and a probable rise in toxic partisanship. On top of that, the poll is a gift to Republicans who seem to believe, falsely, that religion is a moral anchor, and that Democrats lack it. I could see some GOP operatives turning the Pew numbers into a pretty effective campaign ad soon. Yeah, I agree, for sure. The country is so extremely divided right now, and very extreme, very polarized. I've never in my life seen it this polarized. The right hates the left, and the left hates the right. There is no center anymore. It's like everybody wants to put everyone else into a category and hate them for it. It's nuts. I don't hate anybody for anything. I don't hate anybody for anything. I can disagree with you on things and still like you. It's okay. Like Zolfner, one of my super chatters over here, is a Trump supporter, or has been. I imagine probably still is. And that's okay. That should be okay. It should be okay to have disagreements on things and talk about shit. That's what the First Amendment is all about, isn't it? Debate, working through things, talking about things, not hating each other, not tearing each other down over it. Work together and figure shit out. That's what it's all about. Let's continue reading. Terry Firma says, Christian Post reporter Michael Grabowski, in discussing the poll results, briefly revisits the idea that Democrats have a God problem. What does that mean? 3 years ago, a Democratic strategist called Brad Kism was among the people who claimed that some of the most vital moral advancements in U.S. history happened largely through the influence of church and churchgoers. Really? That doesn't sound right to me at all. I'm trying to think of an example here, and I'm just coming up short. Here's a quote. You look at women's suffrage, civil rights, the abolition of slavery, and all of these massive other changes. Religion and religious people have played a role in moving society toward a higher plane, said Kism. I just want to point something out. people who were pro-slavery were quoting the Bible to defend it. Like the South in the Civil War was using Bible quotes to defend slavery. So don't give me this bullshit about they were pushing for slavery to end. That's absolutely not true. Here's a quote from Terry Firma. Said Chisholm, who is concerned about the perception that the Democratic Party is becoming estranged from people of faith. Chisholm's take looks like some serious historical revisionism to me, but I'll leave the rebuttals for another time. For now, and given the events of the past 10 days, no one can credibly say that Democrats, God-inspired or not, are undermotivated in trying to effect great and overdue social change. Yeah. Weirdly, Republicans seem to be like against the protesters, generally speaking, and Democrats seem to be in favor of the protesters' requests, generally speaking. I mean, that's not a hard and fast rule, but that's what it's like. Why? Who in their right mind would be against what the protesters want? They just want equality. It completely blows my mind that anybody would be against this. I just do not get it. And it's really, really heartbreaking sometimes to see people stepped on for hundreds of years and just not see an end in sight.